This is a short training on implementing Section 13574 of the Commission's regulations. This section addresses procedures for reviewing and approving open space and public access documents. Recording a legal document is an enforceable way to implement regulatory requirements by restricting a private property. Recorded documents can restrict property in various ways through deed title conveyance, which transfers the ownership of land to another party, easement conveyance, which transfers a right to use land to others, or deed restriction imposition, which restricts or limits a landowner's right for what can be done on the land. Throughout this training, we refer to open space and public access easements. In this case, the use of the term open space easement is meant to include all types of easements intended to protect coastal resources, such as ESHA easements, agricultural easements, or scenic easements. What does an analyst need to know regarding the recordation of legal documents that require dedication of open space or that require public access easements and deed restrictions that implement open space or public access restrictions on a property? When you are assigned a jurisdiction for LCP planning, you may have various responsibilities. If the LCP is certified, you will need to monitor the implementation by a jurisdiction that is issuing its own coastal development permits pursuant to its LCP. We refer to this as post-certification monitoring. There are many aspects of post-certification monitoring that will be included in other training, but this module focuses only on tasks related to recorded documents. These tasks may require monitoring local coastal development permits issued by local jurisdictions that include conditions that require open space or public access mitigation and the recordation of legal documents. Or you may need to work with local governments to complete an LCP certification or to amend an already certified LCP. Each LCP must have procedures to implement Section 13574 of the California Code of Regulations. These procedures are usually found within the sections of a coastal zoning code that explain the rules for the issuance of coastal development permits by the local government. This means you will need to ensure that the coastal permit procedures include adequate procedures related to recorded documents. This training focuses on LCP-related tasks and will cover how to complete post-certification monitoring tasks related to recorded documents required by the local governments pursuant to a certified LCP. The task you will need to undertake as part of the review of the Commission Coastal Development Permit or appeal are different and will be presented in a different training module. The Commission's regulations identify the minimum procedural standards for local governments to implement their LCPs, as well as the post-certification responsibilities of Commission staff in reviewing locally approved development projects. These implementing regulations include Section 13574 procedures, which require the Commission to oversee certain legal documents. Specifically, Section 13574 requires Commission staff to review and approve legal documents related to the protection of public access and open space required as a condition of approval in a local CDP. This review applies to these types of legal documents regardless of location. This means that the required public access and open space areas may be located anywhere in the coastal zone and are not limited to areas along the shoreline or between the first public road and the sea. Legal documents that implement permanent protection of resources typically result in mitigation for a specific development project. Ensuring that these documents are legally accurate, binding, and enforceable is a critical Commission function intended to safeguard the permanent protection of coastal resources or public access throughout the coastal zone. Section 13574 procedures are only applicable to legal documents that provide public access facilities or opportunities, such as accessways, trails, or beach use, or that identify open space or conservation areas. In this latter case, open space or conservation areas may have been required to protect ESHA, cultural resources, visual resources, etc. There are several benefits to having commission staff serve as a central source of these reviews. First, it assists local government implementation of the LCP by providing legal and technical support. It also allows for consistency of implementation throughout the state, increasing reliability and outcomes. It provides the Commission the means to maintain statewide records, monitor results, and connect as many protected areas as possible. It ensures that the documents are in a form that would be acceptable to potential grantees, and it allows legal staff to use their significant knowledge and expertise in these matters to look for legal red flags that could undermine the intent. Successful recordation of these types of documents requires significant attention to detail. For example, the reviewer must confirm and analyze existing easements, liens, and accurate title to the property. Because our legal staff routinely undertakes this type of work, they are well versed on the potential implementation issues and typical legal difficulties. Section 13574 pertains to all legal documents relative to the protection of open space or public access. Protections are typically in the form of easements, especially for public access, but they can also be protected via deed restrictions and through fee title transfer of ownership. Easements convey a legal right to use a dedicated portion of the property for a specific purpose. Easements convey permanent property interest to a third party and run with the land, meaning that the protections stay with the specific geography of the land, regardless of how many times the property has been bought and sold. In such cases, we typically see public access easements and open space or conservation easements. An access easement is a right to use a dedicated portion of the private property for public access purposes. Typically, access easements allow a public right-of-way through a landowner's property for such uses as accessways or trails. A public access easement may also allow for passive recreational uses, such as simply laying on a beach towel on the sand and enjoying a picnic. In contrast, open space and conservation easements are different in character. Typically, they do not allow public access to the land. Rather, they preclude the property owner from development or use of property that would interfere with the preservation of open space or other coastal resources in a specific area. However, in some cases, easements can allow limited access for activities such as restoration or nature study or research. An example, provision of a public boardwalk over a wetland to allow public access viewing of a marsh area. Easement documents can be titled in various ways, but are tied to the purpose of the easement. For example, they can be titled as open space easements to restrict development, scenic easements for view protection, or conservation easements for overall protection of other natural resources such as wetlands, ESHA, or agricultural resources. Whatever the purpose of the easement, there is little difference in the legal document review. The terminology does not have a consistent meaning among jurisdictions, and the effect is the same. Uses of specified areas are limited or restricted for a defined purpose. Implementation of easements may take two forms. Easements may be conveyed by direct dedication to a specific third-party entity. This may occur when the entity accepting the easement is already known. In such cases, the easement may be directly granted by the landowner to the accepting public agency, land trust, or other qualified organization. For locally required easements that you may review, they may frequently be dedicated to the local jurisdiction. If the agency is not known at the time the easement is offered or required, then the landowner may record an offer to dedicate an easement. This is what we commonly refer to as an OTD. Recording the OTD becomes the first step in the easement process. Essentially, an OTD is an easement that has not yet been accepted by an authorized entity. Once the OTD is accepted, the accepting agency obtains rights to use of the easement just as it would if granted directly by the landowner. Once an OTD has been accepted, it becomes an easement in perpetuity. It is worth noting that OTDs generally contain a designated time limit during which they cannot be revoked, usually 21 years from the date that it was recorded. If a local government requires such an OTD, reviewing these easement documents and maintaining records can allow commission staff to assist the local government in acceptances, if needed, to ensure these OTDs become permanent easements. As part of monitoring how a certified LCP is being implemented, it is first important to fully understand the requirements of the certified LCP. Be sure to understand requirements in the zoning ordinance that pertain to recorded documents. For example, IP language from the City of Carlsbad LCP. While the Commission certified the ordinance, it fails to comply with Section 13574 and that the documents are sent to the CCC for review after the documents have been recorded. In other words, too late to make any changes. As part of monitoring the implementation of a certified LCP, you should regularly be reviewing final local action notices and notices of final action from local actions for possible appeal issues. This review of plans and NOFAs offers the opportunity to ensure local compliance with recorded comment procedures. You should review local actions and notices to determine when conditions require submittal of open space or public access documents. If they do, follow up with the local government staff to remind them of requirements for CCC review of draft legal documents. See example of language consistent with 13574B in recently certified LCP, such as the City of Newport Beach, shown here. Note, regardless if the IP is silent on these procedures, Section 13574 is still required. Also note, local governments have the option under 13574B of approving the legal documents directly if certain conditions are met and the executive director has delegated authority to them. Our records show that no local governments have exercised this option as of May 2017. The process of reviewing post-certification recorded documents begins with actions by the local government pursuant to a certified LCP. When approving CDPs, a local government must adopt findings and conditions of consistency with the certified LCP. If the LCP requires mitigation for development impacts to access or resources, the local government may require recordation of property restrictions. These requirements may appear in different ways in the coastal permit procedures of an LCP, such as procedures for conditions of appeals, or as a distinct section of procedures governing recorded documents. As a result, local staff will undertake initial review of required legal documents from the applicant as part of their condition compliance activities, and you, the coastal analyst, should be monitoring local post-certification actions for similar information. It is at this point that the local staff should submit a draft legal document to CCC for review and approval prior to either local approval or the document being recorded. Then, immediately after the local permit is approved, notify the legal division. If draft document is not submitted, contact local planner and remind local planner of Section 13574 procedures to submit draft document, including maps of protected areas for review. All final findings and conditions, including addendum, revised findings, adopted findings, and exhibits, including exhibits required by permit conditions, should be submitted to the legal division. Send any survey or graphic depiction of a protected area to the legal staff. If requested, you can assist the legal staff in the review to determine if the graphic accurately reflects the intended area. Commission staff has a 15 working day review period to determine if the document is legally adequate once documents are received from the local government. If not found adequate, legal staff will draft a comment letter to send to the local government and the applicant identifying any concerns. If there are problems with the legal document, the local government must inform the applicants to redraft their legal document, return it to the local government for another review, and when complete, resend the final draft to CCC staff for review and approval. This process continues until the CCC gives final written approval along with a request for a copy of the recorded document and updated title report. Once the draft legal document has been approved by the CCC and then properly recorded per the CCC regulations, the local government must send a copy of the recorded document to the CCC. However, there are instances where this document is not transmitted to the CCC. The problem is that unless we are informed by the local government that the document has been recorded, we have no idea this action has occurred. Something akin to proving a negative. How do we know it is recorded if no one tells us? When the document is recorded, the official copy from the county recorder's office is returned to the local government. The CCC is not copied on this action. Therefore, it is your job to track these required documents through plan and NOFA review, and also by maintaining open and good communication and tracking with your local government counterparts. Of course, the local government planner will know when the document is recorded, as it is part of the condition compliance package. Only by educating yourself as to what has been required and then following up to ensure that the documents are submitted to us can you be sure that the process is working correctly. In other words, it's up to you to be the solution to this problem when it rises. The more times you inform the local government planner that they have not sent the required documents to us, the more times they are reminded to create a system which ensures they send the documents in a timely manner. Again, the reason that we care about tracking these documents is that they are an important component to our CCC and local government protected lands inventory. We want to ensure that we not only know of each protected site, but also, as important, how these lands fit together to create a greater whole. They are a piece of the protection puzzle that can help to bridge future acquisitions or whatever is needed to leverage what has been obtained via CDP conditions with other land protection opportunities. Many LCPs were certified years ago and may not have complete and adequate procedures in their zoning ordinance to implement these procedures. If a local government is pursuing an LCP zoning amendment to CDP procedures or other update, this offers an opportunity to include such procedures and to clarify their implementation. When working with local government on implementation of their LCP or an amendment, make sure coastal development permit procedures are adequate to implement Section 13574. If the procedures are adequate, but post-certification review raises some questions about whether the existing procedures are being fully carried out, then in your coordination with local government staff, be sure to raise this concern and work with local planners to fix the problem. For more information, Please review Section 13574 of the Commission's regulations and discuss implementation issues with your supervisor and legal staff.